Alright, hello there, thrill seekers. It's Brad and the dog and the bird. I don't know what kind of bird that is. Maybe some of you listening out there can tell me. It seems to, he or she seems to, or maybe he's non-binary and it's they. Anyway, whatever that bird is up there seems to live up there, and it's one of those birds that imitates the sound of whatever it hears. I can hear it doing things that sound like car alarms sometimes and various other species of birds. Pretty interesting. But he's going to be there throughout the video, I guess, so I hope you enjoy birdsong. Okay, so yesterday I did something I haven't done for a while, which is I put up a new, podcast. And my podcast is called the Hardcore Zen Podcast, and I'm going to show you. It's available wherever podcasts are found, and I'm going to do this. I haven't even tried this. Let me try it out here. I opened up Spotify, and I type in Hardcore Zen. Yep, there it is, Hardcore Zen Podcast. See, proved it to you. So you can find it on Spotify, you can find it on Apple Podcasts, you can find it wherever podcasts are. And the latest one, which I put up yesterday, is called Preview of My New Book, The Other Side of Nothing. And in that podcast, I gave you a preview of my new book, The Other Side of Nothing. I decided to read my favorite chapter, which is called Who Walked My Dog, which I'm going to talk about right now. Also, I put up the same material, oh look, it's an earthquake. No, actually, I'm shaking the table. Anyway, I put up the same material on my blog, which is hardcorezen.info. That's also where you can go to find my donation page, but we'll talk about that later. But anyway, if you go to hardcorezen.info, you can find an excerpt also from that chapter, Who Walked My Dog, if you want to get a feeling for what my new book is like. And if that wasn't enough, yesterday I started the process of putting the audiobook version of The Other Side of Nothing up on audible.com. I hit a few glitches, and I'm still waiting for a response from the people at Audible to tell me what to do about the glitches. So this is what always happens whenever I put up an audiobook. There's always something wrong with it, and then I have to redo something, and it goes on. But hopefully in a few weeks we'll have an audiobook for you too, so you can listen to it. But buy the printed book and make it a million seller. That's what I want. And oh yeah, the intro. Once again, the backing of the intro is courtesy of Steve in North Carolina, and the song is Pigs in Zen. That was Jane's Addiction song, and it was requested by somebody in the comments section, and I liked the song, so I did it, and my wife got us tickets to see Jane's Addiction. It's kind of funny. Jane's Addiction with Smashing Pumpkins are playing soon around here, so we got tickets for that, so I hope they play Pigs in Zen. Okay! All that preview for what? I hope it's something good. Today, I was on Twitter, and I shouldn't go on Twitter. I always say that, but sometimes I go on Twitter. And there was this tweet, and it goes, "The mind is a computer. A person is a mind file. Consciousness, of course, is a brain algorithm. sorting data, modeling decisions with analog wetware, inputs, outputs, brain code, qualia software program, meet computer, beep boop, algorithm processing, printer noise, etc. That was the tweet. And I said, says who? And the person replied, science? To which I replied, who? And I think that's where we left off there. But this is kind of related to the stuff I just told you about that I put up yesterday on my blog and on the podcast, which is a question that I heard first from Tim McCarthy, my first Zen teacher, and it was something he did, and he probably still does to this day. I don't think he made it up. But when you ask him a philosophical question, sometimes he answers with a question, who wants to know? And that's what I was trying to do on Twitter, but of course you can't really have the right impact on Twitter that you want to have. But the question, who wants to know, I think is a really, really serious question. So when I said who says about this computer model, I guess it's called the computational model. Somebody also tweeted back at me and said that this was called, let me get this right, the computational theory of mind is apparently what this is called, and I found a little article about it. Computational theory of mind, what does it consist of? And it's basically the idea of thinking of the mind as the computer, the brain as a computer. And science says that this is how we should think of the mind and of consciousness. And it's not that I'm going to tell you that's wrong. Gosh, I left the door open. Hang on. It's not that I'm going to tell you that's wrong. That's one way of looking at things. You could say that the mind is, let's see what this person said on Twitter. The mind is a computer, a person is a mind file, consciousness, of course, is brain, algorithm, sorting data, modeling decisions with analog wetware, etc., etc. You can say that. And I remember when I was younger and first starting on this path of trying to figure out who and what I am, I would see things like that and it would make me feel like my heart sunk, like it was really disappointing, like, oh my God, that's all I am is a computer that's up here in a meat computer in my head, and boy, that's awful, but science says it, so it must be true, oh boo. The various sort of theories of who and what we are that I was aware of when I was a kid were all kind of limited. Either I was just a computer program or, something analogous to a computer program running in this piece of meat up in my skull, or I was a divine soul that inhabited a physical body and, would get released from it at death or something like that. And neither of those theories was really very good. The divine soul thing I wasn't about to accept because I'm not sort of inclined religiously that way. I would say I have some really interest in religion, obviously, because that's my business. But I wasn't happy with that idea. It didn't make much sense, and it also came with this idea that I was going to be judged at the end of my life, and like if my good outweighed my bad, I'd go to heaven. If my bad outweighed my good, I'd go to hell. That kind of thing. It didn't really work for me. So I looked at the scientific way of looking at things, and I thought, well, this is backed by science. Everything's backed by science, and science works, obviously. We've got computers that you're watching this on, electric bass guitars, this very complicated, sophisticated system that I used to play that song at the beginning of the video. That's an amazing application of science. When I was a kid, when I was starting out and a teenager playing rock and roll in my bedroom in the basement and all that stuff, I couldn't imagine technology like that, or I could imagine technology like that, but I thought, oh, that's never going to happen. A technology where a guy from North Carolina could just send me a song and I'd be able to play it minutes after he sent it to me. You couldn't do that back in them days. So that's science, and science works. But when you try to apply science to something like consciousness, the problem is it's the thing itself. It's when I say who's says who, or who's asking, or who wants to know, the thing that says the mind is a computer. That's what I want to know. What is that thing that says the mind is? I don't care about the science behind it that much. I mean, it's sort of vaguely interesting to me, but I'm like, well, who says that? Who came up with that? And if science says that, well, who is science? Who is this science we're talking about? One of the things I've learned to beware of is when you put the in front of science, then you're in trouble. That's what I've noticed. Anybody who puts the in front of science is trying to appeal to science as a final authority. And I don't know if science is a final authority on all things. It's a final authority on a lot of things, on how to build a computer, on how to make a little phone like this work. I mean, this is another thing when I was a teenager I couldn't have imagined. I'm playing music on my phone. If you would have said that to 16-year-old me, I would have been like, what? But or I'm taking pictures on my phone. Just think of what 16-year-old me would have thought of that. Like, what? You're holding up your little phone and taking pictures? That doesn't make sense. So yes, science is amazing, but when it comes to consciousness, what is it? And that's what this chapter I wrote is about. Who Walked My Dog? And you can go listen to it. I'm plugging my own stuff, or you can go read it on my blog if you want to go read part of the chapter. But I think it's an interesting question when you ask who... Oh my gosh, this is so cute. There's no way I'd be able to get this on screen. Oh, no, you missed it. Okay, there's an orange tree in this yard, in this backyard. There's a lot of fruit trees in this backyard. And I just saw a squirrel pick up a little orange in his mouth and crawl along the fence and then go up a tree with his little orange prize. It was very, very cute. I wish I could have gotten a picture of it for you, but I couldn't. The question I asked is, who am I? Who walked my dog? Because I was working on the book, and I don't know what chapter I was working on, but I took a break and walked the dog. There's Ziggy, and he needs walked every once in a while. And we didn't have this big backyard to let him out in when I was writing the book, so I'd have to walk him several times a day. And I decided to look at who am I? Who walked my dog? Who actually walked my dog? What was the something walked my dog? There was some kind of experience, but I'm not sure if experience was it. My physical body, well, that was definitely involved in it, but I don't think that was it. Were my thoughts it? Was it my thought? Was it my past who walked my dog? And I asked all these different questions. I guess we got helicopters over here. One of the interesting things about the scientific approach, though, comes from this book that I just ordered from a guy in Australia. I guess that's his picture. I never noticed his pictures on the back. But this guy who lives in Australia now spent some time in the 70s with Nisargadatta Maharaj and put out a little book of what he remembers Nisargadatta Maharaj saying. Sorry to keep quoting the guy, but I really like the way he puts things. He's an interesting character in all this stuff about... who and what I am in philosophy and Buddhism, and he's not a Buddhist, he's a Hindu, or was a Hindu. And he says, the scientist has taken the play of the 5 elements, and then the author interjects earth, water, fire, air, and ether, and the 3 gunas, and the author interjects qualities of dullness, activity, and harmony, as firmly established and real, and has gone on to make all manner of calculations on this basis. That's science. That's science in a nutshell. Now, you don't have to believe in 5 elements. You could say that, all the periodical table, I don't know how many, 150 some elements or 200 elements. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I had a science class. And the gunas are just ways of understanding our, what we... Sorry, I almost dropped my book. What we go through during the day, our different moods and feelings and stuff, and how we approach it. And science is really... that. And it's a great thing, it's a great tool, and it works. But it doesn't get to the question of who's asking, who wants to know, who wants to know all this stuff, who wants to know all this science stuff. That's the question I'm asking, and the answer is elusive. There is no answer. There is no one single answer. This is after years of searching and after almost 40 years of zazening every day, I've kind of come to the conclusion that there is no one answer that I can give you, but there is an answer, and the answer is what it is. How about that? That's a good way to stop. Anyway, if you want to contribute to me coming up with more answers to unsolvable questions, or if you want to request if you want me to continue doing this, go to the URL you are seeing on your screen below, which is hardcorezen.info/donate. That is hardcorezen.info/donate. That is my main way of making a living, and even though you buying this book will help out my living, it probably, unless you make it a million seller, won't be enough to pay the mortgage on this house. So I do appreciate your support, but as always, this is offered for free, so you don't gotta pay if you don't want to pay. And we will see you next time. Have a good time all the time. I have some video of Ziggy doing zoomies in the yard, so let's take a look at that.